just going to do a testing on the sound. So that sound works. Final sound check. I can see there's someone watching. If you're watching on the YouTube, if you're watching the YouTube, just tell me where you're from, because I don't know who's watching, I just know someone's watching. So, okay, oh gosh. Okay, I'll start with acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community, and to the Kaurna people who own the land on which I am broadcasting from, and that's terrible grammar, I know. I pay my respect to the elders, past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Okay, it's January. Okay, well, apologies if I look a bit flustered. It's been a tough couple of weeks. I've just come from a memorial for a lovely young man I've known since he came to Australia. He was 25 and taken in a motorcycle car accident just after Christmas. So Vale Qual, or known as KK, or our KTK rapper. So yeah, I had to go and redo my makeup, so I'm a bit flustered. And apologies if you're getting a background hiss. I'm trying a new microphone. I bought a microphone. Thank you for the microphone. And I've been using that for various things which we had planned, and I'll talk a bit more about that later because some of the plans are a little bit south now. I really need the aircon today, so I think that's creating a bit of a background hiss, and we'll have to work on that and find some other way of getting around that. So, yeah. It was over 30 degrees at 8:20 this morning, and currently it's about 36 degrees, supposed to get to 37. I think it's going to go higher. And Adelaide and Mount Lofty ranges are currently in extreme fire danger weather warning, and we're on monitor and action your bushfire plan. So nothing so far, but it's dang hot over here. So for you who are over in Canada or US or wherever in the lovely cool weather, you won't think it's lovely and cool, but to us over here, yeah. Hello. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the traditional teacup of the day. Now, I was going to use this teacup. So this was the teacup I got to celebrate, it's got a little bird, the relaunch of the Illusioneer. Yes, that's right. I've shown you the Dr. Jack one, which was black with gold around the rims, and the purple one with pretty pink flowers and butterflies, which is for Eye of the Beholder. So I was going to use that one, but in this month I have been shown how lovely people are. And quite out of the blue, I got a little package sent to me from one of my Patreon supporters. Hello, Kelly. Thank you. And this turned up, and it's a white version of the other one. So it's white, and it's got the little bird, and it's full of tea right now. I think it's Keeman tea. Yes, it's Keeman tea, which my dear heart made for me, the sweetie. I'll try not to cry, okay? Okay, so it reminded me that there's lovely people in the world, and I really did need the cheering up at the time. And I'll talk a bit more about that for those of you who don't know what's going on. So thank you so much, Kelly, for that totally unsuspected surprise, and it was just lovely. Okay, right. Should have got tissues. Hang on, I'll get some tissues. Yes, the service went a little bit longer than expected, so it's a bit of a rush. Okay, another thing, this is one of my new backdrop things I've got. So at the moment I'm set up in an area where the lighting's a bit better and not directly in my face, so I don't get a migraine. And behind here is the DVDs and books and stuff, so excuse me. So this makes it look a little bit neater. So again, that's thank you for that, has helped pay for that with your patron support. Okay. Books. Let's talk about books, something a little bit happier. Okay, right. So, the Eye of the Beholder paperback turned up, the proof copy turned up, because last time I said I was waiting for it, and it turned up, but unfortunately it's crooked. So what it is they've instead of going straight, they've chopped there, and what they do is they have a random proof checking of the final result, and this one slipped through. Otherwise everything else looks fine inside. So this is sort of what it looks like inside, and I've done a few social media stuff on that. So I basically gave them feedback on that, and they're sending me a replacement copy of that, which they printed pretty quickly and posted, but they're posting it, I believe, on the 2-week turn up thing, because they're not going to put it fast, are they? But I have ordered the other copies, and I checked. Yesterday. Yes. So I actually I checked yesterday on Ingram Spark, and the new copies of all 3 books, plus the Aunt Enid and other ones I've sold out of, are on their way. They're shipped, and they are on a 48 work hour delivery. So it's a 48 hours delivery. I don't think that counts the weekend, so I should be getting them Tuesday. So now I have proof copies of all 3 books. This is the new covers, and I'm pretty happy with those. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about book covers today, because as you know, this one was first published in 2015, this one in 2016, and this one in 2017, and they had very different covers, because at the time sort of indie steampunk things, they had sort of quirky covers with photographs and stuff. It was a different time, and they never sold as well as I thought they would. They sold well within the community, but when I took them to the bookshops, I sold some, but I sold more of the other books. So it's been a while, so I thought I'd revamp these, because trends have changed and reader expectations have changed. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about book covers as advertised last month. So gives you a bit of a rundown on it's not that easy to just slap a cover on a book. Well, you can, but I'm sure you've all seen some, not just indie authors either, where the covers sort of, the pictures like, and the writing's like really small, and it's weird fonts, and it just doesn't look what I like to call professional. It's like, if you're buying a book, you want to make it, I want to make it look like it's worth what you're paying for. I know it is, because I spent lots of time writing it, but you want to feel like it's worth the money. So anyway, they're out in paperback, and there's been some interesting happenings with that already. Anyway, there's an old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. Well, that doesn't actually really hold true in the real life and in book sales. If you know the author, you might go, I really love that author, I love their writing, I'll buy their books, I don't care what it looks like. You might be like me, like all the copies of The Hobbit I've got, where I'm trying to get all the different covers. I won't do that to you, make it change every year and make you collect the whole lot. But yes, the top tier supporters should have got their copies of all of those now too. So things that make up covers. Okay, so basically a cover is a combination of colours, a picture usually, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're just words or design, and fonts. And things that can affect a cover are not just the colours and combinations and fonts, but also the genre. So is it steampunk? Is it fantasy? Is it cozy mystery? Is it a quirky, humorous cozy mystery? Is it a serious paranormal, psychological thriller? All those sorts of things can affect it, and also trends. So there's been an interesting change in trends, particularly in steampunk books, over the last 5 years. And it all can affect a book. So you'll find that often authors may go back after several years and redo the cover. I'd been doing a course I talked about last time. I'd been doing some courses, and one of them was revamping up your old backlog of books. And of course, one of them they said was, look at the cover. Is the cover on trend? I don't like to have it totally on trend because it goes off trend really quickly, but is it in keeping with what is happening in the genre? But also you've got to be in keeping with what's happening in the genre, so the reader goes, aha, that's a steampunk book, or that's a science fiction, or whatever. But also you need to stand out, so hello, you've got to blend in and stand out at the same time. So it's not an easy thing always. So then you've got, that's the front cover. Then you've also got the back cover and the blurb as well. And I changed the blurb slightly on all of the 3 books. Oh, give you the back bit, not the front bit, on all the 3 books. I slightly changed it. And I've actually let it on the back know that it is a steampunkish Victorian mystery, so people know as well, because I've taken the cogs and stuff that definitely say that on the front. But yeah, okay. Whew. Sorry, it's hot, and I'm having a hot flush. Okay, so colours. I did colour theory. Colour theory is interesting. Now you can do colour theory in several different places. I did it at school with art. I've done it, well, then I left school, I did uni, which was applied science, but I did actually, part of it was visual physics, visual science. And so I learnt all the scientific wavelengths and the bits and how light works and stuff like that. But there's also the colours. So it's not just the physics and how light works and how it reflects and how it absorbs and all that stuff. It's also the emotion. So the right colours on a book can instantly create a tone or a mood for that book. So I wanted a slightly type cover, you know, the sort of slightly uncomfortable feeling to it. So hopefully I've got that without not being too out there. Many physiological, there's so many physiological studies over the years, and psychological studies, on how colours affect the mood. Now, I actually do have some links if you're interested. There's lots more, but these were just a few off the top of the sort of pile of stuff. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong links. I've put those links in the wrong thing. Anyway, if you're interested, there's this, that you can go and look at stuff online, and it tells you a lot about different colours. So with Dr. Jack, well, I'd already had the colours. So when I put out the colours, Dr. Jack was a reddish colour, Eye the Beholder was a greenish colour, and Illusion Ear was a bluish colour. It's sort of like, you know, like the first, second and third things you used to get at school in the different colours. But also Dr. Jack, I sort of had red like blood, because, you know, he does things with blood and kills people and does horrible things. And the green was because there was a greenhouse in there, and it was about plants and stuff, and of course water for Venice, which sort of made sense and it felt right. Then I started doing some more covers, and I've been doing some covers for other people, and I started looking back into the colour theory and colour psychology, and there's been further studies since I've done it. So I'll come back to these in a second. But in general, there's different colours, and so, like, for example, red is energy, enthusiasm, emotion and power. There's a thing that you never give a kid a red bedroom because they'll be bouncing off the walls. Darker red, a passion, depth, dominance, prestige. It attracts attention and it can increase your heart rate. They've actually done studies that can actually increase your heart rate. So I've got Dr. Jack. Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. It's been one of those days. So I've got Dr. Jack. So it's also danger and dominance, because Dr. Jack has a dominant thing. He has had a past with Viola, and it's not a pleasant one. So, and it's very personal. So danger, it's horrible. It's Jack the Ripper, you know, blood and all that sort of stuff. Then you've got orange, which is all to do with dynamic, optimistic, confident. Yes, I'm reading this off because I can never remember all this. Joy, pursuit of achievement, energy, strength, and it's often used in self-help books. Also, it can be used for shock or struggle, beginning of war, and that sort of stuff. It's an uncomfortable colour for a lot of people. And then you've got yellow, which isn't used that often. Well, it never used to be used that often in books, but it's being used a bit more often now. It's more friendly, approachable, warm, good moods, relieves apathy and anxiety. So it's been found a lot more these days. And you've got bold yellow, which is motivation, creative, cutting edge, influences the left side of the brain and logic. So you'll find that it's being used a bit more in non-fiction books, and it would make sense to have it in, I don't know, I should have thought about that, shouldn't I? Possibly in some, I don't know, the ones where they get into the nitty-gritty of the CSI and stuff, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I've seen it a bit more in non-fiction books. Green. So green is nature, vitality, environment, health, bright or dark green. I suppose this isn't bright green, it's sort of darkish green anyway. Lost my place now. Is often now associated with magic and the mysterious and the paranormal. So you've got paranormal, well, sort of. Spoilers, you should have read it by now. And there's the potential for some weird paranormal shit going on. Going on. This one is mysterious, terribly mysterious. Sorry, movie quotes. So that sort of worked with that one too. So blue, it's often navy blue, particularly, is with authority. It's sincerity, intuition, truth. Dependability, trust, thoughtfulness, calm. The lighter blue is a colour of peace and reduces pain and gives a sense of relief. And it's often used, blue or bluey greys are often used in hospital situations. That was being used decades ago. I remember that ages ago. So we're starting to do that rather than just a stark white. And dark blue, of course, as I said, navy is deep sincerity, truth. You can expect mental tension, involvement, and the book may provide a lot of food for thought. So I'm thinking, oh, yay! So upside down. So yay! So this one, not only just the Water of Venice, but this is the one where it's who can you trust? So it's not truth, but is it truth? Is it truth? And there's tension and between her family members and stuff like that. So I thought, oh, totally by accident, I must have remembered deep back in the dark recesses some of my stuff I learnt when we did psychology at uni and when we did colour art theory in art at school. Then you got my favourite, which is purple. Purple hair. I got a purple skirt on today because I didn't want to go all black because purple makes me feel better. So it's prosperity, spirituality, creativity, harmony, and gives you a pleasant feeling. Well, it does. It's actually, when I wear purple, it makes me feel better. So I probably wear purple specifically on certain days. Like today, I knew it was going to be an emotionally draining day. Not you, but beforehand. Then I'm going straight into this. Then I've got something else after. I'm going to be in a blankie fort for the next week, I think. So yeah, and dark purples, wealth, mystery, fantasy, and abnormal activities. So fantasy, magic. So you're often finding purples on a lot of the. Oh, there we go. A lot of the paranormal magic books as well. Grey is architecture, industrial vibe, wisdom, prestige. It's not used a lot on books. Pink is youthfulness, youth, playfulness, innocence, emotion. It can engender feelings of weakness because of the association with different things and vulnerability and refusal to face real life, like rose-coloured glasses. And I found it's often being used on chick lit. It sounds terrible, doesn't it, all those things, but yeah, I think it's also used because it's pink and bright and fluffy these days too, so it's the emotion and the innocence, so it's used in that sort of thing. White is clean and straightforward, simple, spirituality, self-sufficient. It can also be the opposite, empty, silence, death, that sort of thing. And there's been some stark white covers coming out with either black and red imagery a lot, or some colour imagery but on a plain white background, or sometimes they're just using background with the fonts and the colours of the fonts as well. And that's been happening in some of the fantasy, but also in thrillers and stuff. And then you've got black, which is authority, power, control, mystery, suspense, sophisticated, the black limo, associated with the dark side and depression. So it's being used again, plain black ones with just colour, a plain colour image, or some fonts as well, some text, and it's being used for dark romances, fantasy, you name it, paranormal. It's been used for lots of stuff. It's a classic. And brown, I don't think I've seen it. It's earth and comfortable and organic. It's not used a lot on as a main thing. I suppose my the Dr. Jack, the original one, was more brown because it was often a steampunk as brass and brown and leather and that sort of natural feel going with industrial feel. It's just, yeah. Anyway, so that's a very quick over thing to do with colour theory. It's not just the colour, it's the fonts as well. So you can get a basic tone or emotion or feeling from the colour, but often one of the first things people will see is either the colour in the image or the text. And it's not just what the text says, it's actually the font as well. So it's a first impression thing, and it needs to really convey the feel of the book. It needs to be easy to read. So often it's in serif, which is these little hooky bits at the end of, so you probably know it, not Comic Sans, which is sans serif, which doesn't have the hooks, but serifs have the hook thing, and theoretically, generally, that's an easier thing to read and to join the letters together, theoretically. And so it's easy to read. And a rule I was told really early in the beginning is try not to have more than 2 fonts on the cover. I've seen some, and they've got a font for this, and they've got a font for that, and then they've got a font for this, and then they've got something else on there, and they've got different fonts. It's all very confusing. So you want minimum types of fonts. I always try. I tried at the moment. I'm with the new covers, because there was different, because I didn't know any better. I used Times Roman, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But I'm trying now to do all of my books with this sort of font. So Department of Curiosities doesn't. It has a different font. I don't know if I'll change that. But yeah, this one, I'm trying to have the books now when they come out with the same font for the author. And that gives me one more font to play with for the title. That's it. The fonts have to be allowed for commercial use. So you can't just go and pull some fancy font that's made by someone if it's not allowed commercially, because you can sell this thing. I've actually purchased a few fonts. I purchased this one, which is called Bleeding Cowboys, and I purchased the steampunk one on Department of Curiosities. Oh yeah, I've got Department of Curiosities here. So I've purchased the steampunk one. I probably should change this down here, shouldn't I? So I've done the steampunk one. There's another one or two that I've purchased as well. They don't necessarily have to be expensive. So I found them on a thing. I thought that looks really cool, and I found out the person who, as far as I understand, is the person who created it. And I've paid them so I can actually use it commercially. So I can use that font on anything that I sell, which is good. Yes. Creators should be encouraged, and creators should be supported, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that later too. If you're doing it, avoid overused fonts like Comic Sans and Papyrus. I actually sort of like Papyrus, but it was done to death. Everyone was using it, so you don't want something that everyone in these dogs got. And they have to integrate with the front cover, so they've got to have a similar feel. So this one, okay. So originally I used, I think it was the Times Roman, because I didn't know any more than that. And I'm using now the Bleeding Cowboys. It gives more of a, I hope it gives more of a gas lamp sort of, it's the sort of slightly darker end of steampunk, Victorian mysteries. It's not quite horror, but yeah, so it's got that sort of that bleeding bit down there, and it's almost like a traditional font that you'd expect for Victorian age, but it's not quite a traditional font. So it also shouldn't be too small. So I've seen some of them where the size of that is the size of the title and of the author, and it's just like this little tiny title in the middle of nowhere and stuff like that. So positioning the balance of the art and the fonts and the size of the fonts. This has to be seen really good in thumbnails. So if I took that right back here and you get the light right, which I can't because I'm mirrored and I can't do this. That's not easy to do. But yeah, if you're seeing it like on Amazon or I don't know, Barnes and Noble or whatever, and you see it as a little tiny thumbnail, you need to be able to see that as well. Okay. I've lost my place. Then you've got the different types of fonts. So the big chunky fonts are used to grab attention, and they can be used for particular genres. And then you've got, so this one's a bit more of a Victoriana type thing with a bit of, hopefully gives you the feeling of dark. Handwritten fonts are elegant and sort of distinctive. Sometimes they're hard to read, and they're often on fantasy books or historical romances will often use the handwritten type ones. And geometric fonts go well with kids' books. They have that sort of retro vibe as well. Vintage typography, vintage fonts are quite trendy and cool at the moment with a lot of other stuff. So there's some quite fancy stuff coming out. And then, of course, your grunge fonts can be mythical, magical. So the type of font you use can go with a genre or not with a genre, and go with the actual book itself. So it's all geared to give you a feeling of, oh, it's dark and dangerous, and there's a shadowy figure in the background, and oh, that looks a bit creepy, like dripping blood, and oh, that's the feel. You get the gist. Okay. A font can also make a book look amateurish. Like I said, really small, plain fonts with lots of different fonts on the front. It can also be serious or funny. Like there's this really gorgeous, quirky font that I can use for commercial stuff. I just want to write something to match it because I love the font so much. It just gives you this. It screams out quirky fantasy with a bit of humour. That's what it screams out. So I hope to get to use that one day. So, yeah. Okay. So, the gist of all this is we're talking about covers, because I had promised that. So, I've got 3 new covers, and this one, they weren't out in order, and I do apologise because they came out in the order of which I ran out of stock. So, it was this one and this one first, and then they were in the 1st of December, and then the 1st of January, the second book came out, so they're all out now. Okay. So, what did that mean after all that? Okay, so I'm going to show you something here. Actually, it was quite interesting. So when I find my little thing to show you, bingo, there you go. So I'll just move this way a bit more. And I'm looking at a different thing, so I should look at you here, shouldn't I? So the first bar graph is, through the year. So what I've sold during the year, and I've got the wrong one. I've got some figures on there. Oh, I should have one without figures. Yep. Anyway, yes, that's it. So yes. Anyway, so it's been like that particular book. Sales of that particular book has been like, because it's an old book. So when I changed no, you can't see my. Wish you could see my pointer. It's going to be a lot easier than trying to do this. Where is it? So there. So I bought out, I started the book for pre-sale in November, I brought it out the 1st of December, that way. And the second book, The Beholder, was on pre-sale in December. So basically in November by itself I sold more than what I'd sold in the rest of the year of those books, all 3 of those books. And in December that more than doubled again. You can see last year, the second bar graph is last year sales compared to this year's sales. That's all my books. And a big chunk of this one was the new cover. And again, in a bit more detail, so this is the last couple of years. It's been like, boom, with the new cover. Now, the only change I've made in that time, go this way. The only change I've made in that time is a new cover and new blurbs on these books. So it sort of does show you that a book does, judge a book by its cover. People do, unfortunately. So I thought I'd share that. You as my patrons have helped me with that. You've given me the confidence to go, I'll do new covers, and you've given me some monetary support so I could do that as well. Now, when I get through this latest hurdle of mine, I was going to go this month into the bookshop, but I'll probably go after I've sorted out a few other things. So part of the plan with new covers was also I wanted to get some covers that would be more bookshop acceptable. That's not the right word. That would be better in a bookshop and probably might grab some people that may not necessarily read steampunk, but on the back I've definitely said it's steampunk, so when they do read the blurb they will know what they're getting, but if they catch the eye on that or on the spines to start with, which aren't focusing, then hopefully it'll get them, so then they'll read the blurb rather than going, oh, that looks indie, or I'm not interested in that. So it's leaning more towards the dark Victorian mystery with a little bit of steampunk, because this is steampunk light. So that's what that's all about. Okay, so I'll put them off to one side. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Now, I know there's some people watching, so if you are, I'm looking at the live chat on YouTube at the moment, so if you've got any questions, if you're on Patreon, you can actually just click the link above where the video thing is, and that will take you to the YouTube one. And if you've got any questions, just type in on the live chat bit, please. I'd love to answer your questions. Okay, so that's what's happening with the paperbacks of the Vile Stewart series. Now, the ebooks, what's happening with the ebooks? Now, I've mentioned a bit about this before. So all the original ebooks, because originally it was short stories and the novella separate, because at the time I did a survey of the readers and they said they would prefer that. Things have changed. So they were in 7 ebooks, and it was a little bit confusing as to which ebook belonged with which books. So all of those ebooks have now been delisted. So if you've got anyone selling those original 7 ebooks, they really shouldn't be, and they've probably pirated it. So you need to, so at the moment I've compiled all the ebooks into the original ones. So there will be 3 short stories in Dr. Jack, 3 more short stories and Eye of the Beholder. So they're all in one book. And then you've got From the Depths, Tomorrow When I Die, and The Illusioneer in one ebook as well. And they will have the same covers, so you'll know that is the ebook that belongs to these books. So it should be a little bit easier. It's also be a little bit cheaper if you want to buy the ebooks. So it'll save you about $1 or so Australian, which is probably $1 or so American, which is about $1.50 plus. Probably almost up to $2 Australian, depending on how the dollar's going today or whenever. Okay, so they'll match. So Tomorrow When I Die has been resubbed. It's still Tomorrow When I Die. It's been resubtitled A Christmas Story, because it is Christmas-ish story, and it's actually been kept as a separate ebook. So I've updated the cover. Sorry, my nose is so itchy now. I've updated the cover with the similar fonts. And it will be kept there as an ebook as well, so you can get it either in the story compilation or as a separate ebook, because there's a lot of people that actually just like to buy Christmas stories. So that's why that's there. Dr. Jack is also being re-released as a standalone ebook, so it will still be in the main thing, because it's part of a new series that I'm working on, which is an ebook series only, and as well as part of the original Viola series. So you can get it as Viola, or if people who don't want to necessarily read Viola stuff, then they can read it as part of the other one. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a second. Okay, now the reason I'm planning the new short story series, and I've done Mrs. Hudson, and I'm putting out the ebooks. So, I think I've lost my place. Is because some of you may be aware of the recent health scare I've had, and I really need to share it with you if you haven't heard about it, because it will most likely impact Patreon rewards this year, and I really apologise about this, and I didn't see it coming. On the 23rd of December, so just before Christmas, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. As it was the holidays, I've had to wait for a specialist to be available, so we know what we're going to do about it. And that appointment is coming up this Thursday. So like I said, it's been an emotional month, and the last week has been very interesting. It's likely I'm going to need surgery and possibly radiotherapy. I don't know how long that will take, how it will affect my existing health issues, because I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia last year, and I feel really terrible about it all. Just as I'd managed to start moving on the first draft of Department of Curiosities 2, this all happens. It's been hard to concentrate. So I've been working on some shorter stories. So when I can't concentrate on the long Department of Curiosities story, because it is one of my longer books, I've been concentrating on shorter stories. So that's why I've been repackaging those, particularly because I hadn't been well, so I thought I'll publish the ebooks in a different thing, so there's something coming out, and I'm repackaging out of exclusive print stories published in smaller anthologies. So when a short story or longer short story goes into an anthology, they have an exclusive right to print for a certain time. Sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's 12 months, and after that you can print it wherever you want. Some of the contracts say you say where it was first printed, some don't. So I'll be repackaging that. I'm doing small research grabs for Department of Curiosities. I'm going to lead them later on, so while I can't concentrate on writing the first draft, I'm going, I'm going to have to know about that, so I'll go and do some research on that. So it has to be done, so I'll just do it now rather than later. And I had some new projects I was working on as well. It's been an emotional week, because one of the new projects I was working on was a secret project, and I wasn't going to mention it for a little while, but some things have happened in the last couple of days that have affected it. So I have been writing Dungeons and Dragons or D&D campaigns or modules, and mini campaigns, one-shot adventures, and a couple of role-player game related books as well. Not stories, but just things you can use to help your campaigns as another revenue stream. And I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since 1978, and I still have all the old notes. I should have got them out for you to show you. And the maps from the world I created and DM'd back in the early 1980s. So we played in that for years. That was fun. So that was basically all my own world and my own characters and stuff like that. And I'd planned to create shorter content bits. So I thought, this is the thing I can do. I've been working on it. It's been in the back of my head. So when I got the diagnosis, I thought, aha! So I can actually plan on doing these little bits when I can't the other stuff. And my dear heart had bought me what they call the SRD, which is a system reference document, and printed it out for me. And it basically gives you the basics of Dungeons and Dragons, and you were allowed to create commercial products and modules and that from that with no royalty. And Wizards of the Coast, who own D&D, who are now being bought out by Hasbro, were allowing you to do that and not pay royalties if you use the extended stuff and did specific stuff that's copyrighted to them. There was a 20% royalty, so there had been, so there's different versions of Dungeons and Dragons as well. So I've been thinking about this since about version 3. It's a long time, really, yeah. And then really start Arcade 5. I'm going to relearn 5, and I'm going to do them for those. There had been an existing open gaming license, OGL 1.0 they called it, which allowed for independent creators to do that. So that was fair enough. You know, that's fair enough. So I'd started to work. So after Christmas, I just started to work on new maps and new adventures from that, to plan to do the modules and stuff to sell, and I was actually planning on putting them in as part of future rewards, possibly starting at the end of the year or next year. But in the last couple of days, there's been a big controversy, and is there a shitstorm happening? Wizards of the Coast have announced they're going to have a new open gaming license. So they've been playtesting and bringing out this called One D&D, which is going to be one ring to rule them all type thing. Beyond 5th edition, it's supposed to be the last lot of. It's not rules; it's just a version. It's going to be the last one. Apparently, they're going to bring out, but they are now putting out a new open gaming license, supposedly. So it was supposed to come out on the 4th of January. It hasn't. Creators were supposed to sign by the 9th, I think, but now I think they've changed it to the 13th of January, and it's still not out. The old open gaming license was supposed to be perpetual and irrevocable, and seeing some posts from the people who helped write that first open gaming license, they worded it in such a way so that they were trying to make it so they couldn't backtrack on it. But they're trying to. So Wizards of the Coast now claim it's an unauthorised version and it no longer holds, and they are bringing out a new one. Now that's the links I had before. This is some of the links of some of the articles that have been out. There's even from then, a couple of days ago, there's been a lot more. So some of the details had been leaked, and it's not looking good for independent creators. So blow a hole in what I was going to do to give you some content while I couldn't concentrate, and hopefully I can get Department of Curiosities finished by the end of this year, but I don't know, because I don't know how bad I'm going to be or how long. Yeah, anyway. So many creators are now starting to cover their tracks. Some have published all of their scheduled 2023 content before the end of the year, even though it was incomplete, hoping that because they put it out, it might come under the original pre-2023 open gaming license. Wizards of the Coast tried something similar when they brought out version 4. So there was D&D, AD&D, which is back in the 80s. I love that. You can do almost anything with it. Then they had 2, and then they had 3, and then they had 3.5, and then they had 4, and now they've got 5th edition. Yeah, it's long. So they tried to do a similar thing when they brought out the 4th edition, and there was this big, huge backlash, and they stopped it. A lot of independent creators are feeling betrayed right now. The content that they've created has helped to reignite the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons, and you've got celebrity gamers as well. You've got a Netflix show that has made it. It hasn't really I don't think it's been the total to the popularity, but it's got people going, "Oh, that's a thing. I didn't know that was a thing." So a lot of these independent creators who have been there producing content for them have got the popularity back and making them money effectively. Even without royalty, they're making money off these people, and now they have bitten them. Basically, they're turning around and saying, you have to sign this contract, the new one, by the 13th, I think it is now, or we will stop you making that stuff. And they basically tear it up and trash it. Now, there are a lot of people, there's a lot of legal stuff going on about, can they backdate it, can they not backdate it? Now, the thing is, even though one creator was told that if he took them to court, he would win, the problem is it'd take 2 to 4 years to get through, and they would stop him earning money in the meantime. So they're a big thing with lots of money, and they are basically pressuring and bullying people because it's going to be very hard for the small independent creators to fight back. We haven't got the money. Okay. So far, there's been bits leaked out, and I think they leaked out a bit more today, which probably looks worse than what it did originally too. So the gist of it is, you have to advise Wizard of the Coast of any content that you intend to publish, and you have to have that approved. That's number one. All content will pay royalties of some sort. So when you get over 50,000 thousand income, not profit income, but income, you have to then advise Wizard of the Coast of all of your income. So you have to advise what you're earning. Higher income, so that as they get higher in income, you pay more royalties, up to eventually 90% royalties. Now, this is royalties on income, not profit. So some of these big companies out there, like Pathfinder based, it's another role-playing game, has based it theoretically on their gaming system. Now, if they don't sign up and pay massive amounts of royalties because they're earning quite a lot of money to Wizard of the Coast, then they can actually do a cease and desist and make them have to destroy all of their stuff. There is rumours that they may be taking Wizard of the Coast to court. If they do, there may be a lot of independent contractors that jump on the bandwagon. I mean, yes, they have the right to own their stuff, but the thing is, their money, that their position that they're in now has been created by these independent creators that they said ages ago, you can do this and you can do this in perpetuity, and we're not going to change our mind. We can't revoke this. And now they are revoking it. Yeah. The content also, there's been some worry about content creators on videos, although that shouldn't theoretically be affected because it comes under fair use, I believe, and commentary. But they are saying that you can only do content that is books or PDFs of those books. So if you want to do t-shirts and whatever, they can stop you doing that. It's dicey because it was in the other one, but they weren't really... it's confusing. It's all very confusing until it officially comes out and they start talking about it. Although I saw a guy today who was on their Discord, and apparently they're banning any talk about the open gaming license, and it's very confusing because one, they said it's fake news, and two, they said it's real, but it's been stolen, so therefore it's illegally acquired intellectual property or something. It's very confusing. Anyway, plus, this is the bit that gets me. So this is the bit I had actually written some outlines for modules. I'd actually done maps. I actually started doing this stuff, and I was planning. Yeah, anyway, the big thing, the big kicker, I think, for most people, and the reason I feel betrayed, is because they can at any time take, with the new open gaming license, take anything that has been published by an independent creator, and they can print it non-exclusive, which means that they can do it, and they can print it, use it, sell it, and not pay any royalties to the original creator. So basically, they're stealing intellectual property. So that's basically like someone stealing a book and putting it up and pirating it, and giving you no money. It's yes, the system was originally made by them, but they're not making that extra intellectual creative product. Yeah. I actually wonder if it's related to the movie that's coming out in April, which I actually am looking forward to seeing, unfortunately. Because often movie deals involve merchandise and stuff, and often they'll say, okay, we're going to make this movie and we want this deal and you can't do this, we got this and you can't do that. So I wonder if it's related to that. I don't know. Hasbro wants lots of money. Maybe it's a way of curbing competition. I don't know, but I think that it could bite them in the bum, because I think this is a case where the people in the know will basically say, I want to support the creative people, not the big thing. Anyway, so the uptime of that is, I was planning on publishing some role-playing game stuff, and I probably won't be publishing it now for the foreseeable future, even though I've started working on it, because I don't want my intellectual property being nicked. And if I do all that work, I want to earn something from it. However, one content creator I know of, and there's probably more of them, is actually creating a new role-playing game system with perpetual and irrevocable open gaming license, and they've put everywhere that basically they are going to do the system, and they're flying it open because they want people to be able to use it. So it's a bit like Draft to Digital, who was started by some people who got burned by Amazon, and basically they want to open up for independent creators to create things. Because also, if you've got a system and there's lots of independent stuff you can get, you're going to use the system because there's lots of stuff you can get. It makes logical sense. I don't know if I like the new system. I'm actually looking at some of the other systems. I was looking at Pathfinder. I don't know if that's going to end up being in court, so you won't be able to use it. I don't know. It's all up in the air. But that was one of my plans for this year. If I couldn't get long form content book out, to get out some short form. So that's not happening. Sorry. But I thought I'd tell you about that. That was a secret project that I had brewing for years, and now it slaps me right in the face just when I'm going to use it. Okay, what are my other plans for 2023? So as mentioned, Dr. Jack is going to be available as a separate ebook, and I haven't prepared that picture of that cover, so the cover will be revealed in coming months to you first here on this one, and then on the behind the scenes, and then eventually to the world. Okay, excuse me. So Dr. Jack as an ebook is being re-released as a standalone ebook as well as part of the Viola series. And it's basically because it provides the introduction to the new ebook only series, which is the Jack Findlay Journals, I think. I can't remember what they're called. Oh, jeez. And it will have a different cover. So if you like collecting different covers, you can get a different cover. And I wanted that, and so I wanted that to fill out any gaps while I'm in possible recovery. Hopefully in recovery and not the other. I'm still in denial on that one. Okay, scheduled releases. Okay, so ebooks. So the ebook of Dr. Jack and Other Tales is coming out the 1st of February. The Beholder and Other Tales is out the 1st of March. Legionnaire and Other Tales is out the 1st of April. Unfortunately, it's a bad 1st of April. It's not a joke. So I wanted them so that there's stuff coming out. In May, I'm possibly at this stage, I'm hoping for May to put out the Dr. Jack with the story as a standalone with the James Findlay Journal badging with a new cover. And the 1st of June, I'm bringing out Blood Ties, which was one of those anthology stories I talked about. It's about 17,000 words, I think, so it's a long short story. And it'll be as part of the James Findlay Journals, and they have separate covers to go with those. And I've got a few ideas for other stories for those. So what I decided is I'm going to be hopefully writing some more longer short stories for James Findlay and Mrs. Hudson as ebooks to release this year, probably towards the end of the year after June, because the June one I wanted Blood Ties, I think Oz Comic Con, if I'm well enough, is in June this year in Adelaide, so I wanted to have that up and running for that. So that's what I'm trying to plan to bring out some new stuff. So there's something coming out during the year to give you rewards and stuff to read as well. Plus also James Finlay is definitely darker, and Mrs. Hudson can be darker, because that's probably the headspace I'm going to be in, unfortunately. Department of Curiosities is probably one of my lighter books, and I've been finding it very, very hard to get the headspace with all the things that have been happening to do that. So I do apologise for that. Okay. So here we are. We're almost at the end. Thank you for sticking with me. For those who've missed it or couldn't stay or came in late, there should be a replay on this later this afternoon. Okay, if you've got any questions and you're on, I will go and have a quick look on Patreon just in case there's someone there, because you can't always get onto. Just bear with me. I didn't have it open. I've got too many things thinking. Yeah, it's a bit like that. Okay. There's no questions on the actual Patreon page. Is there any questions on the... Doesn't look like it. Okay, so this is your last chance to ask a question. What would you like me to chat about next month? Basically, unless I'm in the middle of radiotherapy and I'm as sick as a dog, there will be a live next month. So that's the caveat, is I don't know what's going to be happening and what therapy they're going to be giving me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, so if you've got no questions, it's fair enough. Okay, so Memorial this morning, live chat now, and in about 25 minutes I'm going to be starting some D&D therapy, because I like my D&D. I'm so pissed about the open gaming license shit. I'm sorry about the wording there. So with our New Zealand GM friend, I really need this today. And then next week is full of specialist appointments. Oh god. Yeah. Thank you for all your support. And I hope I can keep up the rewards up to date in the coming months. And I'm so sorry about all this. I'm the first one in the family to get breast cancer. I still can't say that word easily. At least I got it now and not years ago. There's a lot more stuff they can do these days. So, and I've had a few friends who've had it, and they've been helping me out. So, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it, and all I can do is apologise if I'm going to be I feel like I'm going to be a bit slack in the next couple of months. I will do my best, and stay safe everyone, please. And I'm going to cry, so I think I need to say goodbye and thank you. And now I've got the usual thing of how do I do this stuff at the end. Okay, so thank you. And again, let's try that again. This time get it right. Okay, thanks a lot.